Hey guys, Chlorine King here. This is the first of many upcoming tabletop reviews. I'm very excited to have this as the first product. This is the brand new dual voltage Jandy variable speed pump. It's auto sensing between 120 and 240, so very excited about that. I'm going to go over some technical details and all that fun stuff, but first let's go ahead and show you what you get in the box. First thing you get is obviously the pump. You get the two unions. You get your communication wire for automation. And then what also comes with the box is also this base. Now what's cool about this base, it actually has risers built into it. So if you need additional height, you just go ahead and cut these out and then put them along the associated spots to raise the pump up so you don't have to do a whole replumb for the manifold. Some extras I have here on the table is an extended base. This is good for reaching the Duraglass or the IntelliPro style pumps with a high plumb height. And then also this is your 𝐸𝐾 pump. This is essentially instant automation for the system. Now with the old ones, it was only instant automation for the pool pump. This new one, which we're going to get into, you can automate quite a few things from this device. So let's go ahead and dive a little further into the pump. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of the features of the pump. A small upgrade it went through, it changed from a 1.65 to a 1.85 horsepower. It's still classified as a medium head pump, whereas the 2.7 actually got upgraded to a high head pump. This 1.85 flavor is still a medium head pump. One of the coolest features that got changed is they made a zero clearance motor. So all manufacturers, including Jandy up to this point, had to have some type of clearance for the motor to breathe, in between the motor and the wall, usually 3 to 4 inches. Now, the way this one's designed, you can literally put this all the way up against the wall, if need be in a very tight situation, because it breathes out the side here through these vents. It's a huge game changer for Florida, where we seem to have very tight pads. Another cool feature, which we'll dive into a little bit more in an upcoming segment, is the improved electrical compartment. They redesigned this, and actually with the gasket, in a channel to where there's virtually zero opportunity for water to get in here. Very nice touch. 2 relays here, auxiliary relays, so you can control things like salt systems and booster pumps right here from this pump. It eliminates the need for other timer boxes and all that fun stuff. Again, we'll show you all that stuff in a little bit. Not just this pump, but really any variable speed pump, one of the cool features about it is you can tune it to your pool. It wasn't built the most efficiently way possible. You can really fine tune this to get the optimal performance out of your filtration system and your pool. And because of how energy efficient this motor is, you can save anywhere from $850 to $1,200 a year off your electricity bill, which is it's a huge bonus. I mean, it literally pays for itself between years 1 and 2. So it's a good upgrade to go to. It has a very large pump basket, so it handles larger debris well without ruining the circulation of your pool. And what's really neat, we talked about it a little bit in the intro, but it has an adjustable base. Now this system allows you to go to 10 different pump heights, or replace up to 10 different pumps right off the bat with various bases. Like I mentioned before, it has these risers right here that are made to use with the included base. And if that isn't enough, then you can start doing combinations with your extended base and reach up to 10 different main pumps. I'll go ahead and insert a chart just so you guys can see what pumps it replaces right off the bat and show you it's a good fit for those pumps. Lastly, another feature of this pump, has an easy transport handle, so it's real easy to maneuver around the base when you're trying to install it. You need to take it off the pad to repair. Super simple. It's balanced, so it's not, hanging, motor heavy and all that fun stuff. It's a good little feature. So we'll go ahead and go over the technical details of this pump right now. Alright, so now that we went over some of the features of the pump, let's go over some of the technical details. The first one is it auto ranges between 120 and 240, so you don't have to worry about what voltage is there. Hook it up, it's going to do the rest for you. And that's a really great feature for us who get calls from an hour, 20 minutes away from our home or our office. We don't have to worry about, hey, let's go up and see what voltage it is so we know what kind of pump we need to put in. This accepts both, so you're good to go. You just need a picture of the pad, and it allows the professionals to do easier estimating because you don't have to worry about including the electrical side of the estimate. Next feature in here, which we'll get into in a little bit, it has dry contact relay control. We'll go over all that, all the speeds it does here in a moment. It has a very, very small footprint for what it is. So the measurements I'm about to give you, the dimensions, are without any base at all. So from the floor to the very top, it's 12 3/4 inches. The plumb height is 7 3/4 inches, very similar to a Superflow pump. From front to back is 24.5 inches, so it's a very small footprint. And then total height from base to the top is 12 3/4 inches. So it's a very small footprint, and again, it's 10 inches wide as well. I forgot to mention that one as well. Has no more dip switches. You don't have to change the dip switches, excuse me. It auto senses what it's being connected to through an intelligent design. So you don't have to manipulate dip switches for automation, IQ pumps, stuff like that. As I mentioned before, it has 1.85 total horsepower. It ranges between 120 and 240 volts. It has a max wattage at 120 of 1800 watts, and then 240 is 1700 watts. As far as amps go, at 240 it's at 7.5 amps, and at 120 it is 15.5 amps. 20 amp breaker will still work beautifully for this pump, and then also it accepts pipe size of 1.5 and 2 inch. So those are the technical details. Let's go ahead and open up the back and show you what is new and the latest and greatest from them. Alright guys, so this is what y'all been waiting for. This is the electrical compartment of the new dual voltage pumps. Your first thought when you saw the pump might have been, wow, Eric, that drive is enormous. Well, here's why. There's a lot of great stuff going on in here. We'll start from left to right, work you through, show you what everything does, what it all means, and we'll go from there. So this is the dip switch settings. Now, if you guys have worked in Jandy pumps before, you're probably very familiar with these, but you'll notice there's only 2 here versus the 4 or 5 that it used to have. If you remember earlier in the video, I mentioned that the pump auto detects what device is being connected to, whether it be an IQ pump, a JEP-R controller, or 𝐸𝐴-𝐸. So these 2 are specifically for the pump address. So if you do have an automation system, you can tell the automation system which pump controls what through a pump address. So I'll include a chart that shows the different sequences for which pump number it would represent in the automation system. Here is the standard 485 COM cable port. You got your, for Jandy, it's red, black, yellow, green. It's also labeled here on the board. This is what you connect and communicate through, whether it be a 𝐸𝐴-𝐸, IQ pump, JEP-R controller, what have you. That's what communicates. Here is your dry contact relays. Now what this does, if you don't have a Zodiac controller, you can do a dry contact relay to these, and they're predetermined RPM ranges. You got 4 of them here. Number 1 is 3000 RPMs. Number 2 is 1400 RPMs. Number 3 is 2200 RPMs. And number 4 is 1725 RPMs. And then you have your COM. Now, if you have 2 dry contacts ran over here to COM and shorted here, it's going to default to the highest RPM range. So let's take number 1 and 2 for instance. Number 1, as we said, is 3000, and number 2 is 1400. If you have both of them ran over to the COM, it's going to default to number 1 at 3000 RPMs. Now, at any time you ever hook up a Zodiac controller, these get ignored right off the bat. So let's go over here to the middle part. This is the really cool part. This is all the 2 relays I mentioned earlier. Now, if you look at them, it's a standard timer box setup. You got your line load, line load, line load, line load. Now, you can hook up a 120 or 240 device here. Obviously you have to do it properly, but you have your ground for the relays right over here. And then what's really cool about them is they close the circuit at certain RPM ranges. So relay 1 is 1725 RPMs, relay 2 is 2250 RPMs. Once that speed is achieved, there's a 3-minute delay before it actually closes the circuit to give that device power, whereas if it drops at any time, it immediately opens the circuit or cuts power off. So that's where I was mentioning earlier,
in regards to the IQ pump being able to automate most of your system. If you have something like a booster pump or a salt system, you can activate these relays at certain times in the schedule to give power to those devices, i.e. automation. So it's a really cool, not full throttle automation system, but definitely gives you a lot more capability than previous pumps. Then over here you have your supply power for the pump. You got your 2 lines in, and then you got your ground. Now again, this auto senses between 120 and 240, where these you have to actively wire it for that voltage you're wanting it to run at. And then that is basically a really cool feature about this, because you don't have to worry about what voltage is there at the pad. You know that this pump's going to work regardless. And then going around the exterior of the bottom of the pump, might be difficult to see, but you have your bonding lug here. You got a 3/8 threaded connection here. You have a 3/4 inch connection here for to run power to these relays. And then you have your 1/2 inch conduit here. And then you can actually run the supply of the pump over here on the side. It might not be in frame, but you can run your power to the pump through here. So that way you have an in for the relays and an out for the relays. And then the other thing I want to show you was the massive difference in the door. So this is actually IP rated for weatherproofing. This actually has a channel here with a gasket inside of it. And then if you look over here, it actually has a channel that runs along here. So that channel fits in this gasket and in this groove here, and virtually makes it waterproof, to a certain standard. But don't take a fire hose to this thing. Water might get through at that point. So that is the inside of the new Jandy dual voltage pump.
Alright guys, so that was the table talk for the new Jandy dual voltage pump. Hope you guys enjoyed it and learned a lot about the product. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, and like and subscribe as always, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.